This yucca tree outside my windows started blooming. It still has a way to go. Not many people need a tripod when they're making a quilt. I only wind up about 6-7 inches at a time. Because of the nature of this frame, remember the underside is only going to this pole. That means I can only quilt from this side, and I can only quilt up that far. Since I'm just sitting here, I thought I might answer some of your questions. J1P asked about these pins. I'm using the pins for two different things. One, if I'm sort of taking off and wanting to create a line, I have the idea in mind what I want the line to be. I just put in some pins, so I'll follow along those pins. I don't like marking it with pencil. That makes it a little too rigid. Plus then you have to deal with removing the pencil lines. When the famous quilter Joe Cunningham looked at some of my grandmother's quilts, the first thing he looked for was pencil marks. He wanted to find out whether she had played it safe or gone freehand. He's a passionate devotee of freehand quilting. Interesting because he comes from a very classic tradition where his classic quilting is really beautiful. I think he did find pencil marks on hers. So I use the pins to help me mark out a line. You may wonder why you haven't seen my left hand. My left hand is busy at work underneath. I'll do a video eventually of the left hand. But if I detect underneath there that something's slipping or bunching or whatever, I pin temporarily just to stabilize it. Tobie too asks 2 questions, each of which has dynamic answers that are almost complete opposite the least expected question. The first one was, how can I utilize the creative energy if in a state of stress? States of stress create the channels for the creativity. If I'm disturbed about something or something is preying on my mind, nothing alleviates it like writing a poem, painting a picture, doing something creative. The state of stress doesn't mean that you can't create. The state of stress is giving you the material for creation. The other was, can I be creative with a deadline? Deadlines kill creativity. That's just simple. There's a deadline factor. That means I'm locked into a time, I'm locked into responsibility, I'm locked into what I think I ought to do. There goes the creative energy. So no, I can't. That just makes it impossible. Flophousepoodle. Don't you love that name? When she tells people she's an artist, they ask her 2 questions. The first one is, do you have kids? Assuming, of course, that she couldn't possibly have kids and be an artist. Or if she does, she's some sort of a Wonder Woman. And does she sell her art? Well, honey, I've never been asked any question. If I'm at a gallery opening, a dinner party, a cocktail party, in a social situation where you're meeting people and they're asking questions, or you're getting to know people, I'm never asked what I do. I got to the point I never volunteer. If they don't ask, they don't get it. It's that simple. 3-year-long project, passing as a man. I mean, I did successfully pass as a man. Now, it wasn't constant, but I was doing it over a period of several years. I wanted to find out what was different. What were men experiencing different than women? People ask men all the time what they do. That was the first time, only time I was ever asked, upon being introduced to somebody, what I did. I just thought, well, it must be because they're assuming women aren't doing anything interesting. They must be just mothers, housewives. The fact that they could have just been getting a book published on quantum physics, which could be perfectly possible, that never occurred to anybody. So you never ask women what they do. You know, quilting is not traditionally done like this, one person alone. It was a social thing. You shouldn't get the idea that this represents traditional quilt making, because quilting, by the time you get to this stage, the hand quilting stage, this was done by groups. Usually church groups. My grandmother's church did that. Women would make their own quilts, the piecing part, nothing like this, believe me. It was traditional 9-patch or whatever the design. There's a million classic designs, I love them all. But when they had the top completed, they would be on the waiting list to have the circle, it was very often called, the circle, the quilting circle at the church, it would be your turn, and everybody would quilt on your quilt. So it didn't take long. I think sometimes they only met one day a week, but if you've got 10 women quilting at once, talking at once too, goes without saying, goes with saying. Yes, talking. That's why I prefer doing it here alone. If I want to talk to anybody, I can just talk to you, and I don't have to listen to you. I'm so selfish. There are quilting clubs here in San Francisco too, part of churches, and I've been told that those women are all very well-traveled women and have much more sophisticated conversation perhaps than my grandmother's circle had, which doesn't necessarily mean it's not equally tiresome. I like it quiet. I like the meditative aspect. I like listening to books on tape. I like listening to the radio.
I have read somewhere, and I've got to find out where so that I can say so and tell you, because you'll want proof. Hillary Rodham Clinton, Senator Hillary Rodham Clinton, is the owner of, I believe, if not the largest, nearly the largest collection of Barbie dolls in the United States or on the globe. Now, what that proves or what that indicates, I leave to you.